Hey guys, in this session we are going to create an application that will help the user to manage his library. For example, we are going to show a list of books to the user. Then the user can choose which one he has already read before, which one he is currently reading, or which one he wants to read in the future. Also, the user can see a page that will show the details of each book and even might be able to leave some comments and reviews for every book. Although this is a practice project, we are not just going to practice, we are going to learn a lot along the way. For example, we will learn about recycler reviews, we will learn about importing different libraries, we will learn about different UI elements like card views, we will learn about image loading libraries like Glide, and of course a lot more. So stay tuned for this session and let's begin our project. Okay, as always, I'm going to create a new project by clicking on Start a new Android Studio project on Empty Activity. I'm going to save it API level 19, but for the name, I'm going to say my library. The first thing that I'm going to do is to design a simple layout for the first page that the user will see when he opens the application. For that, let's close this Java and extra panes and let's switch to text view of our layout file. As always, I'm going to change this to relative layout. Let's delete this pre-built text and let's start working. A relative layout, match parent and wrap content. In here, I'm going to create a text view that will show the name of our application, an ID, txt name, also a text, let's say my library, size of 20 sp, and the style as bold. Let's wrap this as well and let's change it to center in parent, so it will be center in its parent layout. Then I'm going to create a bunch of buttons. For that, I'm going to place all of them in a relative layout, wrap content and wrap content once again. Also, I'm going to move it below our text view, txt name, and simply some buttons. Match parent for the width and wrap content for the height. Some text maybe for the first one. See all books, ID, btn all books. Also, let's give some margin in here as well. Margin left and right for example, 30 dp. And also a margin top. Let's center this one horizontally as well. Let's add another button. Currently reading books, btn current as its ID, and let's move it below the other button, btn all books. A margin top maybe, up 20 dp. Let's copy and paste this one two more times. Want to read books. BTN want to. Let's move it below our BTN current, and in here the next one, already read books. For the ID, BTN already read. And let's move it below our BTN want to. I'm going to add another button in here as well, and it will show some details about our application, about the creator of this application. I'm going to call it about. BTN about, and below our BTN already read. Okay, that seems fine. Let's increase the padding in here a little bit, the margins from left and right. And this is very simple. This is a very simple layout, but you can place some image view to show your logo in here, or you can design it however you want. We are going to implement these functionalities in our application, or maybe more in the future, but for now it's just a simple layout. As always, let's switch to Java and define all these buttons. Private button btn see all, btn currently reading, btn wants to read, btn already read, and btn about. I'm going to move the initializing of all of these buttons inside another method. I'm going to call it init widgets, so I have a cleaner code. Private void init widgets, btn see all, we'll cast it to button, find view by id r dot id dot btn all books. btn currently reading, btn already read, and btn about. btn current, btn wants to, btn already read, and btn about. Let's define the unclick listeners of these buttons inside another method as well after initializing the buttons. I'm going to call it set unclick listeners private void set unclick listeners. In here btn see all dot set unclick listener, new unclick listener. Up until now we have worked with applications that only had one activity, but in this session we are going to work with multiple activities. Our application can have multiple activities and we can create another activity from here. I can right click on my package and on new. I can see that I have an option activity. In here I have some options, or if I want to navigate to the first page, I can click on this gallery and I can see all the options that I had when I first created my application. I'm going to choose empty activity in here. I should name it. The convention is to end the name of activity to activity, and the layout file should be start with activity and without any capitals. Actually, it won't accept capital letters. Okay, the name, I'm going to call it all books activity. It's not a launcher activity, but I'm going to check this backward compatibility for now. We will talk about what this is and leave everything else as default. By hitting finish, the Gradle file will sync and build my project once again. And if you want to see what's happening, a Java class in here created all books activity. Also in these resources in the layout file, an activity allbooks.xml file has been created as well, and also in the manifest file has been some changes made. For example, this activity, this line in here has been added to the manifest. Okay, let's continue on. But how to navigate to different activities? For example, how to move from this main activity to this all books activity? Well, there is something called intent in Android. Let's create one and we'll talk about it. Intent is equal to new intent. Basically, intent makes the connections between different activities, between different parts of application possible. For example, in here I can pass the details of where I want to go from this main activity. For example, I can say I want to move from main activity.this from this class to allbooksActivity.class. This is the destination of this intent. It will start from here and it will go to this activity. For the first one, I can pass this, but because I am inside another method in another class, I need to specify the name of my object, main activity.this. But for the second one, for the destination, I need to pass .class at the end of the name of my activity. There are a lot more features to intent, and we will talk about all of them when we talk about activities and fragments in future sessions. But for now, we are just going to navigate the user. And if we want to trigger the intent, we can simply say start activity and pass the intent. This simple line of code will trigger the intent and will go from the main activity to all books activity. Before running our application, let's change this layout file a little bit so we know that we are navigating to another layout. Let's give it a background of color accent for simplicity, and also a text view in here. Let's say all books activity. Let's change this one to relative layout and let's center it in here. Centering parent true, maybe size a little bit bigger, 20 sp, and style maybe bold. Okay, now if I run my application, you can see that if I click on this see all books button, I will be redirected to this all books activity. And by pressing this back button in here, I can navigate back to main activity. Uh, there are a lot more features to intents. For example, we can pass data within the intent. We can set some flags for our intent. We can listen for the result of the intent, but all about that in future videos. Okay, I think this is a good point to stop the video. In the next video, we will work on this see all books activity and we'll show a list of all available books. So see you in that next video.